Will remain standing for a moment of silence for military and public safety personnel past and present.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I asked for the public's indulgence. We were kind of getting stuff straight. This is kind of new to us with the Zoom and all that, so we're just trying to work out everything to get moving, so we're a little late here. But next up on the agenda is a review of minutes from past meetings. We got one from May 14th, 2020.
No, you do not.
No?
Yeah, let's table those until next
Okay,
time.
we'll table those to after meeting. Okay, then we have a closed session statement from May 14th, 2020. Steve?
Closed session announcement regarding Town Council, closed session May 14th, 2020. Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, May 14th, 2020 at 7:52 p.m. at the Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, second floor meeting room to discuss personnel in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. 2 members of the Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in Section 3-305 of the General Provisions Article. Town Council discussed the following topics. Personnel discussed an employment agreement. Actions, Town Council asked Town Attorney to make a revision to an agreement. The following members and staff were present: Jeffrey C. Morgan, President; Timothy McCluskey, Vice President; Steve Walls, Town Manager; and Sharon Van Amberg, Town Attorney. Meeting adjourned at 8:24 p.m.
Okay, we have a 7:05 public hearing for Ordinance 5/2020, FY 2021 budget, constant yield, and Ordinance 06/2020 utility rates. So it is 7:05. So the first one is, the subject of this hearing is an ordinance for 05/2020 for the purposes of adopting a budget for the town of Centreville for the fiscal year 2021. I will now ask Ms. Karen Luffman, the Finance Officer, to provide background on Ordinance 05/2020.
So this is the final draft budget for FY21 with a public utility tax of $7 and 20% allocation of cost transfer. The total expenses and revenue for the general fund is $4.7 million, and the total revenue and expense for the enterprise fund is $2.5 million, with a property tax rate of 0.405.
That remains the same.
Yeah, which remains the same.
Okay, I will now call upon Carolyn Brinkley, Town Clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certificate of Publication, State of Maryland, County of Queen Anne's. This is to certify that the annexed legal advertisement has been published in the publications May 1st, 2020 edition of the Record Observer for the May 21st budget hearing.
Okay, I'll read from my script in a second, but I just want everybody out there to realize that since we are doing this on Zoom, we are going to go ahead and hold everybody to the 3-minute limit because we're not sure how many public comments we're going to get, and we want to give everybody an opportunity to voice their concerns. So realize you will have 3 minutes and 3 minutes only. If you have anything else you want to provide, you can submit it in writing to the council, or of course you can comment in a later citizens forum session. So we will first hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 05/2020, and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well.
And Jeff, can I just say that the comments are still open after this public hearing until the June 11th meeting as well. So after this, they'll have until June 11th to submit more comments.
Submit comments. Okay. So we will now hear from all those.
Can we have the comment, the guidelines? Can you read the guidelines?
Okay.
Welcome to the Town Council of Centreville meeting. This is a public meeting that is now being aired live on our local cable television station, QAC TV 7. This meeting is being streamed live over the internet. These media broadcasts provide citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled sessions. We acknowledge your participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. The scheduled agenda is available on the town's website. Public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes per person. And that would be it. Thank you. Sorry, I was reading the counties, so it's a little different than the towns.
Okay, so we will now hear from those all that are in favor of proposed ordinance 05-2020.
Now, Bruce is going to be reading the emails that came in, but I'm not sure if we have any for that are in favor of it, so I don't think.
Yeah.
I didn't say in favor or, yeah, they're all opposed.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all.
Maybe, I don't know if there's anybody online that wants to chime in. Is anybody?
We don't have anyone yet. I would like to remind people that are listening now in Zoom that we are asking you to join a breakout room to do a round of security and clearance. So if you're in Zoom, please join that breakout room when you're asked. That's the only problem we're having at this moment.
Okay.
So we have nobody that wants to speak in favor. Okay. So we will now hear from all those opposing proposed ordinance 05-2020. So we want to go ahead and read the public comments first on that?
All right, I apologize to the people who will be tired of hearing my voice. Our names are Walter and Ann Rowland. We currently live in Symphony Village. We were just able to return home from a 3-month quarantine at my daughter's in Florida. We just read about your proposals for tax and utility increases for next year. We must say we are horrified. We are on a fixed income and struggling to pay our $4,200 tax bill right now, and we know for sure some people pay over $5,000 in taxes as well. Fortunately, we have the Homestead Act and low income, but to raise taxes on the water sewer also just as wrong. It is our understanding that this bill is the same for everyone, which we never understood. A senior family, if 1 or 2 does not use as much water as family of 4 or more with children, that does not seem right. But to raise it higher just because you made such a huge mistake of $4,500,000 is ludicrous. Surely you are smarter than that and can come up with other ways to pay for your poor money management. We as seniors beg of you to understand this tremendous hardship you will place on all of us. Many of us will lose our homes because we will not be able to afford to live here. We've only lived in Centreville for 7 years, but this is our home and we love it here. Please don't take it away from us. Please have a heart. You will be in our situation someday. Thank you for your anticipated caring. We hope to read the positive results in the near future. Sincerely, Walter and Ann Rowland. Next up comes from Carolyn Hardy. I'm a retired and live on Social Security and have no pension. I worked a part-time job and got laid off. I cannot afford to pay higher taxes. All right, next is Christine Roberts from 140 Concerto Avenue. These increases are incredibly high and unfair. Many people are barely getting by, and to increase necessities like water and sewage is unfair and ridiculous, especially when it's being done without input from the citizens. We can't even go into a county building at this time. The town of Centreville already has extremely high taxes, and to add these extra burdens is unconscionable. Since the road project went over budget or wasn't budgeted properly, the citizens are expected to make up the difference by slamming us with more taxes and rate increases. Maybe other things need to be eliminated or streamlined rather than just unjustly raising taxes and utilities. It's just reckless overspending. Signed, a very concerned citizen. Next is Roy Davis from Symphony Way. I live in Symphony Village and was just made aware of our taxes and water going up. I realize that this is a very difficult time for everyone, but come on, people. Is this what you do to your community who is already struggling? I moved here from Howard County, which I thought was one of the most expensive counties in Maryland, and was shocked when I saw my very first yearly tax bill. This county is higher than Howard, and I must ask, what is here that causes it to be so high? There are no good places to shop, our grocery stores are not the best, restaurants are so-so, not much for going out with children, and you want to raise taxes and water. A lot of houses are for sale here, and I would wonder if it was because they couldn't afford to stay here, not because they were too old to take care of themselves. Please, please reconsider doing this. Roy Davis. Next up is Laura Lynn Anderson Petre. Sorry if I said your name wrong. From Sonata Way. I strongly protest the proposed increases in taxes and water and sewer fees. It is utterly appalling that the council would even consider such action at this time of crisis and financial hardship for many residents. Clearly, the council wants us to pay for its incompetence in the recent fiasco with the work on Commerce and Liberty Streets. Instead of getting raises, everyone involved in this disgraceful mess should lose their jobs, and that includes the council members. Next up is Patricia Cipriano from Orchestra Place. Please consider the economic climate that has resulted from the current pandemic. Unemployment is historic, and I am sure the town of Centreville has not been spared from joblessness. My business is 1/3 of what it was in January. I had to lay off half my staff. There are QA co-residents. So in the words of the most financial experts who I see to be advising our politicians on money matters, now is not the time for economic recovery. It is a time of simply trying to sustain a family, a community, and a country. Thank you. Next up is Paul Kelch from Harmony Way. The concept of raising taxes and fees on residents of Symphony Village and the rest of the town population at this time is abhorrent. Gross mismanagement by town board members and management staff at Public Works are directly responsible for the overruns that have caused deficits. Proposing raises for town staff, no matter how deserving they may be, in the face of large numbers of residents forced out of work, and the seniors of Symphony Village have lost savings and security while on fixed incomes, is also unconscionable. These proposals show no humanity or caring for the members of the community you serve. If you raise our taxes and fees, you are guaranteed not to have my vote in any future election, and I suspect most people in the town feel the same way. Next comment comes from Margaret Villardo from Harmony Way. Hello, I would like to lodge a protest against the considered raises in property taxes and water rates. You are considering unjustly punishing the entire population of Centreville citizens for the mistakes of a few in government. In addition, you're proposing a permanent tax and utility burden to a fixed and temporary revenue problem. The person who ran the sewer project for the city of Centreville was indubitably the worst project manager I have encountered in my 40 years of project management. The mistakes that were documented in the city newsletters were nothing short of outrageously expensive rookie errors. The fact that there were no penalties for the manager or contractors involved are further evidence of mismanagement and oversights. One has to wonder whose pockets were lined in this project with egregiously drained our city coffers, took forever, and did little to improve the infrastructure of the city. No one was punished or penalized for the clearly documented mismanagement of that project. Now you expect the everyday citizens, a large portion of whom are either on fixed incomes or low incomes, to make up for the poor management practices of the project manager and the town council. Doing that in the present of a pandemic and associated critically declining fiscal environment where people are financially stressed and starving is reprehensible. Making the town revenues requires innovative thinking, a creative step-by-step approach, and long-term view. Instead of you are taking the easy way out and putting the permanent back-breaking fiscal burdens on the citizenry. You are going to hurt the local businesses, ruin property values, and add to the omnipresent economic stagnancy and disability of the area. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves for poor management, lack of foresight and planning. Now you're adding insult to injury. Do some serious critical thinking, make a realistic long-term humane plan, and stop punishing the captive people who live here for your mistakes. Thank you for expanding my vocabulary on that email. From Pat and Howard Fox, Encore Court. We are asking the council to please refrain from raising both our real estate taxes and especially the water and sewers rates at 40%. Most of us here at Symphony Village are here on a fixed income and lost much of our investments in the economic crash during this pandemic. A tax increase now is rubbing salt in our wounds. It isn't our fault that the sewer project went so horribly over budget. It is unfair to try and recoup all of us with this huge increase. Our next email comes from Deborah Patty from Harmony Way. To whom it may concern, I have been a resident of Centreville, Maryland for 13 and a half years, and now for the first time, like to voice my concerns on information that I have received that our property taxes and water bill may be increased. My husband and I live on a fixed income from money that we worked very hard for throughout our lives to put aside for our retirement. Living in this county has been a blessing, but in the last few years has become a struggle with the high cost of taxes, water bill, and other day-to-day expenses. This year, the coronavirus has affected our retirement savings in the market, and I fear will affect our monthly retirement budget and cause a struggle for us in the near future. Living in Symphony Village on a small size lot and paying high taxes is causing me to rethink my retirement here in Centreville, Maryland. It may be time for us to look into moving to senior-friendly states. I ask you to please take us seniors among other families with children in consideration before you raise the property tax and/or water bills. This is not the year to do this. Next is a comment from Eston and Rosemary Hoffman from Concerto Avenue. To all Centreville Town Council members, please reconsider any raises to our town taxes and our water and sewer bills, especially during this time and especially when we cannot even attend town meetings. We know there was a mismanagement of the sewer work that was done on Commerce and Liberty Streets, yet the only ones that are going to be punished are the citizens if you raise these fees to recoup those funds. Thank you for your time, and please keep our rates as is. Next is James and Catherine Buckheit from Concerto Avenue. To the Centreville Town Council members, as homeowners, taxpayers of Centreville, we have recently learned that the council members have proposed raising property taxes by an unknown amount and water and sewer fees by 40% in the next fiscal year. We realize that the towns are suffering, as are individuals, as a result of the pandemic, but raises of this size at this time seem unconscionable, particularly given that the water and sewer charges have been going up 4% per year for several years already, and that property taxes are already quite high. We ask that the members of the town council reconsider the proposed budget and come up with something more realistic for the town at this difficult time. Thank you. Next is Jenny Houghton from Chesterfield Avenue. I am absolutely appalled that the town council is proposing a 40% increase in water and sewer user fees in 2021. Our rates are already much higher than most. When I moved here from Baltimore County 14 years ago, I was shocked by the difference. In light of the current high jobless rate due to COVID-19, the timing of the rate increase couldn't be worse. The town of Centreville needs to put its residents first and come up with other less painful sources of revenue. Our next comment is Raymond Goodmuth from Harmony Way. To all on the council, I am, along with many other town folk, object to this increase in property tax or in sewer water rates as they are too high now. There is an especially trying time financially for local businesses and residents to be having any discussion of a tax increase. I'm hoping that this is rumor is just that. Okay. Our next comment comes from Jeff Phillips. As a new resident of this community since January, I was unaware of the financial status of the town. As you would expect, we are trying to sell a home in Preston, Maryland, where we had resided for almost 30 years to move to Centreville. We decided on Centreville due to the ambiance and proximity to work. We basically had not even experienced the town and what there is to offer when the world pandemic hit home as we know it. With that said, we were just in this week informed by our neighbor that our water and sewer bill was possibly going up 40%. At this time during the pandemic and millions being laid off from work and many businesses not having to close or now having to close with no real guarantee of returning, this hits hard. Being a person that wants to make sure that this is not just gossip, I did my own research. I went to the town records online and searched the last 3 budget proposals and resolutions along with amendments to see if this was factual claim and why. After this research, which hopefully was thorough, I conclude these items to be factual. Ordinance 04-2018, budget for 2019 tax rate of 0.405 cents, or dollars, I'm sorry, per $100, and utility tax $2.11 per 100. Number 2, Ordinance 06-2019, budget for 2020 tax rate of $0.405 per $100, and utility tax of $3.11 per $100. Number 3, Ordinance 05-2020, proposed budget 2021, tax rate of $0.405 per $100, and utility tax of $7.11 per $100, or $4 per $100 increase. Number 4, Ordinance 05-2020, draft water and sewer user fees, quarterly billing, represents a 40% increase across the board regarding utilities. Number 5, Ordinance 05-2020, general fund shows a 5% increase in revenue and 5% increase in expenses, yet the enterprise fund, utilities, shows an increase of 40% from 2020. In Ordinance 06-2019, the increase from 2019 to 2020 was only 4%. Number 6, Ordinance 06-2019, enterprise fund, utilities, shows a 21.6% deficit prior to the transfer of funds to balance the budget. The major difference or beginning cause seems to go back to the major reduction in allocation fees in the revenue. In the 2019 budget, these allocation fees were to the degree of $572,000 and $336,000, whereas in the 2020 budget, these fees were $131,000 and $77,000, respectively. I'm not sure why this occurred, but it did. Number 7, Ordinance 06-2019. Budget for the 2020 reiterates a 4% increase for sewer rates from Ordinance 08-2014 with the or other percentage amended by the Town Council, to which I was unable to find an amendment that requested a 40% increase. In conclusion, I would ask that the Town Council review the attached document and consider upholding the Ordinance 08-2014 increase for the 2021 budget and make the necessary recommendations for amendment in the acceptable increase over an acceptable time frame. My suggestion, since I'm unaware of the reason behind the need to raise the utility rates in the town, is to consider only requesting a 21% increase to balance the deficit from 2020 budget over a couple years. This would mean 11% increase from 2022 and 2023. And then there's also an attachment. Would you like me to read this attachment, or is that just something that, okay. Next comment is from Tom Love, Orchestra Place. Has a final budget been presented to the council? If not, I would like the opportunity to review it before the council votes. Reason, there appears to be approximately 40 expense accounts that could be eliminated and or reduced that exceed $40,000 that exist in the April 23, 2020 draft budget. Welcome the chance to talk with Steve and Karen. If correct, this reduction will eliminate a tax increase. In addition, would someone explain what the line items mean entitled Transfer to Fund Balance? The line item appears on page 1 for the general fund for $339,950 and page 2 for the enterprise fund for $181,784. It looks like you are trying to rebuild the permanent fund that was used to pay the road construction. Respectively submitted. Right. It appears that is all the emails I have for 05. And I have no one listed in our Zoom as speaking on this matter.
Okay. All right, we have nobody online that's willing to,
Not on this matter, no.
okay.
As far as I
All right,
know.
thank you. The Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 05-2020. And just remember that the comment portion is still open until
June 11th.
June 11th.
I'm sorry, we do have one.
Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
So we have Joe Sahaki, so I'm going to mute our room in here, and then we're going to go over to Joe.
No, you're fine. Can you hear me okay now? All right. Are we good now? Oh, I can hear myself. Okay. All right. First off, I'd like to thank the town for being able to find the money to fund this Zoom meeting this evening. I think it is very important to give the public an opportunity to comment on things that are concerning to them. I'm not going to reiterate the comments that were given initially by individuals via email, but I think that speaks volumes for the concern of the town when it comes to the increases in water and sewer rates. And I think that it is in the town's best interest, especially the council, to take their opinions into consideration and not to neglect the comments of individuals that at one point or another ended up voting for you during an election. The second thing, I don't know if this is the right time to mention it, but I'll mention it, that I would like to comment on is that I think it is phenomenal that we have the opportunity to have this Zoom meeting, like I mentioned earlier. But I am curious as to the reasoning behind one of the town council members being on a Zoom meeting and not at the Zoom meeting or not at the actual town council meeting. And I would like to note also that this is the second time that the town council member has missed a meeting. So I am curious as a resident of this town that contributes to this town as to why we are being neglected a third town council member sitting up there this evening. Now, with that being said, like I mentioned before, I very much appreciate everything the town's doing with the Zoom meeting. And I do think you really, really need to take into consideration the comments of your constituents this evening. The emails were very well worded. And I just hope that you consider the 40% increase in water and sewer rates. And I would like to elaborate also on the fact that not only is this impacting residents, but you're also impacting businesses. Here in Centreville, we already have businesses that their storefronts are vacant, and individuals are paying leases and mortgages on buildings that they're not even in for whatever reason that may be, especially during the pandemic. And I think that it's very ill-willed of you to suggest or to propose a 40% increase on businesses, on residents, on anybody in Centreville, because as the email stated, it makes it very, very unappealing for individuals to be here in Centreville, but not only that, for businesses to be here and for our economy to grow here in Centreville. And as a newer Centreville resident, I would just say that it is very disheartening to hear the proposals that are out there and to hear the comments of citizens out there that they're potentially thinking about leaving this town, because out of all the towns that I've lived in, this is by far one of the best towns, and by far one of the best population that we have of people. So to see them neglected in such a way that they would potentially consider leaving is really a shame. And that's all I've got. Yep.
All right, we are now back in the room.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn this hearing.
Okay. Second? Guess I'll second it then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Would you like me to go back to hear aye from,
What's that?
would you like me to go back to hear an aye verbally from Josh, or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to mute the.
Aye.
All right, and we're back in the room.
All right. The second one is I will now convene this hearing concerning the constant yield tax rate for the town of Centreville for fiscal year 2021. Karen, please provide comments regarding the constant yield tax rate.
The constant yield tax rate for the state is currently 0.4022. For the town of Centreville, it is 0.405 and has been the same since FY18, and there's no increase in this fiscal year budget.
If I could just add, based on the amount of difference in revenue, this was not a hearing that we were required to have by state law.
Correct.
We just decided that we wanted to have it.
Yep.
From my experience, we've had it in all of the years. The other comments that I wanted to make regarding this, and I think it's important, is that this year is not an assessment year for town of Centreville. So assessments have not changed. The state has not come in and made those changes in the assessment. And I would like to just point out there that the county commissioners just had their one of the final budget meetings not too long ago. They talked about the tax differential, and they actually have agreed to increase the tax differential for the town of Centreville. Now, obviously, it's going to be required that they vote on it. But as of right now, it's they're reducing the town of Centreville's tax rate, if you live in the town of Centreville, the county property tax rate by 0.0049 cents. So it's not that much of a difference, right? But it's about the difference of $15 if you own a $300,000 property. It's about $15 a year. So I do just want to make sure that people are aware that their actual tax bill will go down a little bit.
Josh would like to make a comment. So I'm going to mute the room.
Yeah, I just want to add, I think just after listening to all the comments from the community, obviously there's a very legitimate concern between what we're doing, what they perceive we're doing, and what's going on in the world right now. I just want to be really clear, like Karen said earlier, is we're not raising property taxes. It's the same that it's been since 2018. And as far as the budget goes itself, we voted on freezing everything. Nobody got raises. We were actually able to cut out about 1% off the existing budget. I know 1% is not a lot, but nothing was added. So I just want to be really clear about
the concerns coming from the community are all valid. I just want to make sure that the facts are out there. And the fact is, we're talking about water and sewer rates being increased because of, not being increased and having to catch up. But there is no property tax increase. So I just want to be really extremely clear about that. So I think there's a lot of people that are angry about it. But I just want to make sure that they understand that we want them to be passionate about the things that they believe in for the town. They want us to hold us accountable. That's fine. I just want to make sure that they have all the information. But to be clear again, for the second or third year in a row now, there will be no tax increase. So I just want to make that absolutely clear.
Mike? And the room's live.
Okay. I will now call upon Carolyn Brinkley, Town Clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certificate of Publication, State of Maryland, County of Queen Anne's. This is to certify that the annex legal advertisement has been published in the May 1st, 2020 edition of the Record Observer titled Real Property Tax Increase.
Okay. We will first hear from all those in favor of the proposed constant yield tax rate, and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well. And this will be open until June 11th also, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so I don't think we need to read the public comment guidelines once again. Please keep them in mind. We will now hear from all those in favor of proposed constant yield tax rate.
We don't have any?
Okay. We
Is
will
there
now,
anybody in the, no?
Not as of now.
okay. We will now hear from all those opposing the proposed constant yield tax rate.
No, I think they were all,
05.
all,
05,
they were
06
all
are general.
read under 05, 2020.
I would just say that if there is anybody, if any of these emails are related to the constant yield tax rate, we will submit those and, submit them as written, and we'll include them for the written record.
Okay, Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision. The public hearing on the budget for fiscal year
2020.
2020.
2021, sorry.
2021.
will be held following this hearing. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this hearing?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this hearing.
Okay, I'll make it easy. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. You want to go over to?
All right.
Over to our room.
Okay, aye.
1 second, and you're live.
Okay, I now declare this hearing adjourned. All right. And the third, and I believe final, is the subject of this hearing is an ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville establishing the Town of Centreville water and sewer user fee and service fees for both metered and unmetered customers. I will now ask Mr. McCluskey to provide background on Ordinance 06-2020.
Thank you. I actually have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to try to put up there if these guys can work their magic. I do better standing up, so hopefully that's okay that I'm going to be standing up while I'm doing this. So first, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that everybody who is on the council are residents of the town and that we are all ratepayers and we're all affected as well by any increases in the rates. In addition, my family has been affected economically by the COVID-19 economic crisis, so we're all in this boat and I'm in this boat as well. So the Town of Centreville water and sewer rate discussion presentation on Ordinance 06-2020. This came about because a lot of the comments that we received last time wanted us to explain why this is being proposed. Also, I wanted to explain a little bit about what it's not about, like what the increase is not about. So I wanted to first start out with a comparison. So Centreville has an aging but world-class distribution system that provides every household in Centreville with clean water and sanitary sewer for an average of about $2.25 per day. Comparison to that, I guess my comparison didn't come up very well. Basically, a gallon of milk is about $3. Oh, that didn't come up either.
I think it was covered completely, so I didn't even realize.
Okay, gallon of milk is about $3. Slice of pizza at Coliseum Pizza is $1.95. Dunkin' Donuts large coffee is $2.09, and Symphony Village HOA dues, just in comparison, daily is about $7.23. So why are we proposing this increase? Expenses far exceed revenues for general operations of the utility system. Centreville has a small user base. We have about 1,960 users to spread expenses out. Much of our delivery infrastructure, the pipelines, are old and needs replacement. Other things like capital, storage, sludge beds, vehicles are old and nearing capacity. Previous rate increase was not enough, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The enterprise fund, which is a separate accounting fund, separate from the general fund, water and sewer utility, should pay for itself through user fees. And due to budget constraints, routine replacement on equipment is often pushed out to future years. What this is not a result of the additional cost of the Liberty and Commerce Infrastructure Replacement Project. The original budget of $4 million was through a loan, and debt service was created and anticipated. The special election, of which I pushed for not to have the permanent fund expended, and my philosophy was that rates would go up because we would be borrowing more money, we would be borrowing from the permanent fund. So the special election, which resulted in the permanent fund being partially expended, is not to be paid back through this rate increase. There are no plans to pay back the permanent fund through the enterprise fund. So what does our water and sewer system look like? The town produces about 123 million gallons of water per year. That's a lot of water. We must meet or exceed federal standards for drinking water and treated wastewater without exception. We have the capacity to store 600,000 gallons of drinking water. The town owns a 370-acre, fully operational farm outside of the town. Am I close enough? All right, sorry. Where the treated wastewater is discharged via spray irrigation. Due to the source of our water, 2 arsenic treatment plants are required to make the water safe. We have dozens of miles of underground water and sewer pipes. If you drive on a street in Centreville, chances are there are water pipes and there are sewer pipes underneath that road. In 2013, the town commissioned a rate study from an expert to evaluate what our rate structure was. At that time, rates had not changed since 2003, and the council goals at that time were the following. We wanted to review the water and sewer fund to assure stability and financial health of the enterprise fund. We wanted to prepare long-term financial plans, including capital investments required for a sustainable system. We wanted to ensure costs are allocated appropriately among customers. So if you see the Town of Centreville Historic Water and Sewer Bill, starting out in fiscal year 2003, the average bill remained exactly the same, whereas other costs and inflation should have caused it to go up. All of that revenue was not realized. The recommended increase from the expert said that from fiscal year 15 to 19, water rates should have increased immediately 70%, then 12%, then 7%, then 6%, then 5%. The sewer rates should have increased immediately 50%, then 7%, 3%, 14%, and 9%. What we actually ended up approving, the water rates went up 25%, then 25%, then 15%, and then 4% ongoing. And sewer increase went 15%, 15%, 5%, and 4%. The original rate study guidance. The rate study recommended that user rates and allocation fees should provide for operations and maintenance, existing debt service, planned capital improvement, and contributions to reserves. As a result of the increase, the smaller rate increase, we had an updated study presented to us in March of 2018. The results were that the water and sewer revenues came in under forecast. Individual water usage went down, so we had decreased revenue. People actually started conserving a little bit of water, and we had fewer new connections, fewer new water and sewer allocations. We averaged about 13 per year, and we estimated about 25. If you're looking at the graph on the right side, the blue is what the original proposal, what the proposal said this is what we should be doing. The orange is what we adopted, but because of individual water usage went down, the gray is what we actually brought in. Other effects of the smaller rate increase, even with the increased rates, revenues did not keep up with expenses. A 2018 report forecast a $500,000 funding gap for operations and debt. That's not doing any capital, that's not repairing any equipment, or excuse me, that's it's not planning for any capital improvements. The actual FY 2021 funding gap is $608,000. And we're having to use cash reserves just to meet operating costs and existing debt. This is going to continue on if these rates do not go up, and the enterprise reserve will be depleted in a few years. The rate increase did not provide for any planned capital improvement for future investment. The 70% and 50% that the consultant had recommended did include that. When we actually made the decision and we approved the rate increase, we said we just can't do any planned capital improvement for future investment. So any planned capital improvement must come from loans or reserves. So if you look at the right over there, the funding gap from what they said we should have had and the actual, the revenues versus the expenses, it says it's $500,000. This year it's actually projected to be about $608,000. And then if you look at future capital, about a $1.6 million annual funding gap. This future capital are things that need to be improved. Here are some examples of some deferred capital improvements that we've had to push off. So these are capital improvements deferred since the original FY 2016 budget. So you can see there, between the sewer and the water, we're looking at $2.5 million in deferred projects, and in the water side, it's $1.3 million in deferred project. Here's some examples of what some of these deferred capital improvements are. We need to buy a pickup truck with a snowplow. The one that we currently have is a 1999 model year, right? 22 years old. It's got 210,000 miles on it. We have deferred that purchase since 2016. We have $100,000 budgeted for a Northbrook generator. This would be a generator that would go on the Northbrook water facility. This would provide emergency power outage and water plant redundancy. That's also been deferred since 2016. $300,000 sludge bed capacity improvement. I'm not going to get into the details of what a sludge bed is and how it works, but the drying beds have reached their capacity, and we've deferred that since 2017. $55,000 for arsenic filter replacement. These are periodic replacements that are ongoing maintenance, and we've deferred that since 2019. $45,000 is for a small shed replacement. It's a storage building which is in poor shape, missing part of the roof and might collapse on equipment, deferred since 2016. I went out to the farm today, which is where the storage building is, and you can see, here's the pictures, right? It's collapsing. We're not talking about things that are in good shape here. These are dangerous buildings. We don't have the budget to fix these things. Here are some capital improvements. So we've done a lot of improvements to the infrastructure recently, but we've got a lot of other water line replacements and sewer line replacements that are going to have to be done at some point. So these are talking about Whedon Street, Homewood, Johnstown and Powell, Holton, Windsor, Wharf Lane, Corsica Street, Creamery, Spring, Belvedere, and Jones, right? So when these capital improvements are made, we're going to need to fix the roads probably as well. That would actually come under the general fund. Some of our deferred future capital improvements. So economic vitality is an important part as well. So as the town looks to the future, we have to anticipate future growth. So here are some examples of future capital improvements. $300,000 for a wharf pump station upgrade. Eventually, when the Carter Farm gets developed, that's going to have to be fixed. That's going to have to be upgraded. $12 million for a wastewater treatment plant design and upgrade to 750,000 gallons per day. $1.6 million, a new elevated storage tank. So we've got a piece of property across from the high school that will eventually have a elevated storage tank, which will improve redundancy and also help with pressure for our water system. $200,000 for a third production water well to increase capacity as well as redundancy. If one of our water wells goes out, as of today, we've only got one backup. $1.1 million for engineering and expansion of the holding pond to accommodate our higher flows. That's where we store our treated wastewater before we spray it on the farm. $500,000 for an expanded spray capacity of the current farm to better handle increased flows, to maximize the capacity of water that we can put on the current farm that we own. And then eventually $3.7 million for an additional spray irrigation area and equipment and installation. And I wanted to note this, I think this is important. These improvements must occur before the anticipated growth happens. Much like the original purchase and improvement of the current farm, the build out of the wastewater treatment plant, the well, and the storage tank at the business park, these were built before Symphony Village, before Providence Farm, before Northbrook, before the Acme Plaza, before the Food Lion Shopping Center and the business park. None of these developments would have occurred if the town didn't finance these prior to development. In summary, raising water and sewer rates, it's not something the council takes lightly. These are serious decisions that we're having to make. Every email that comes in, we read them and we look at them, and we have heard all of those tonight. The council has been improving this ancient infrastructure since 2007, after decades and decades of deferment. The rate study in 2013 recommended a higher than adopted rate, and the 2018 updated study proved that the rates were not increased enough. The utility cannot survive over the long term if rates are not increased. Maintenance and planned capital improvement must occur regularly, and long-term capital improvement must also occur to ensure economic vitality and growth. The proposed increase would add about 91 cents per day for the average user to the existing $2.25, I think I said. New subdivisions, including Northbrook and Symphony Village, and this is an important one, they're approaching 20 years old. Infrastructure improvements must be planned for them as well. That's everything that I had for this. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. If anybody has any questions, I am always available. Feel free to give me a call. My phone number is 443-262-5729, and I will meet you at any time. I'll put a mask on, and I'll be happy to come sit with you. Thank you. That's the intro for the ordinance.
Does Josh have any comments prior to us going to the next step, just to make sure?
All right, yeah, he raised his hand. All right, I'm going to mute the room.
Yeah, I just want to say that was actually a great presentation. I think that we have done probably less than we could have as far as providing that type of information to the public in the past, so that when these sticker shock kind of ordinances or votes or all these kind of things come to the forefront, you know, the sticker shock can be much more. So Tim, that was actually, I was really impressed with that. That shows a lot of information. It shows exactly why, you know, some of these decisions have to be made, and it is not taken lightly. You know, it's not something that we can just ignore either. And like you said, we deferred and deferred and deferred and deferred, and eventually there has to become, you know, some action towards it. So I just hope that people are getting a better understanding of why decisions that have been made are being made, and that it's not for lack of information or, you know, we just want to throw numbers out there. So I appreciate the work you put into that, and I hope that the people watching and listening, you know, have a much better understanding of what's going on, and that you know, the next round of comment or whatever will reflect that. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm going to come back over to you, Mike. And we're now live.
All right, and prior to us moving on, I had Karen Luffman put some stuff together for me on the enterprise fund, and I can just tell you, just from the numbers I'm looking at right now, we've been running a deficit in that fund, and I have numbers from FY16 to the present. And I guess last year we were lucky enough that we didn't run a deficit, and that was because of the apartment complex that came online behind Acme with their allocations. And one individual made a comment about allocations, why there's such a big difference, and what they need to understand is allocations are monies paid by people who are building in the town, and what that money is supposed to be for is for maintenance and the like for the system and improvements. And the problem was previously town council's been using the allocation as part of the funding for the enterprise fund to keep it running, just running. It's supposed to be extra money as far as I know. So I just want to let you know that. Also, somebody made a comment about Howard County and the lower water and sewer rates and all that, and what you need to understand is we're a smaller town, and the user fees are paid by a smaller percentage of people or number of people than Howard County. Howard County is a large county, so water and sewer fees are spread out amongst a lot of people, where ours aren't as spread out as much. And they also have a lot of businesses in Howard County, and businesses help to defer that cost for the residents also. So that's some of the things that people just need to understand. I don't think they do. So that's what I have there. So I will now call upon Carolyn Brinkley, Town Clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certificate of publication, State of Maryland, County of Queen Anne's. This is to certify that the annex legal advertisement has been published in the Record Observer 5/15/2020, Ordinance 06/2020.
Okay, once again, we will hear first from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 06/2020, and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well, which will be continued to be open until June 11th. So we will now hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 06/2020.
All right. We're not going to read all the emails that were for 05 and 06/2020, but we will acknowledge that Roy Davis' comment was about this also, right?
And these are all opposed.
These are all opposed, right?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we don't have anybody.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, there were none for, right?
There's nobody online right
Yeah.
now? Okay, so we will now hear from all those opposing proposed ordinance 06/2020, so.
Sorry, same thing I just said, and Roy Davis again. Our first comment is going to be from Joanna Ridgway from Opera Court. To whom it may concern, I am dismayed and dead set against raising these rates to compensate for poor management and budget overruns in the sewer costs between Commerce and Liberty Streets. This is totally unacceptable. Are you trying to lose residents? Our taxes are already too high considering where we live and the amenities that Centreville has to offer in comparison to Easton. Please rethink your vote on these proposals. Respectfully, Joanna Ridgway. Another double comment from 0506 was from Laura Lynn Anderson Petrie. Our next comment is going to be from Judy Webster from Harmony Way. I don't understand how, in good conscience, there can be such a proposal even under consideration. After the financial fiasco and the repaving of Commerce Liberty Streets with absolutely no accountability, the council should be looking for ways to cut costs, not impose outrageous increases on taxpayers. I would like this issue brought up to the 3 council members. Thank you. Again, Paul Kelch from Harmony Way, his comment earlier is also into this, as well as Margaret Villardo, Pat and Howard Fox, Eston and Rosemary Hoffman, James and Catherine Buckheit, Raymond Goodmuth. They were all the same from 05 to 06. Your messages were in this also. Our next comment will come from Mary Elise O'Connor from Churchill Road. I did expect an increase, but 40% is outrageous. Fellow residents are struggling due to the pandemic, and I know the town is also struggling. But there has to be a way to mitigate the situation for residents and for business owners too. Mistakes were made which led to this situation, and we now need to lessen the pain for residents and business owners. Our next comment comes from Mike Norris, Concerto Avenue. Request that the town council explain the reason for substantial increase in water and sewer rates at the town council meeting. Our next comment comes from Dina Anderson, 112 South Commerce Street. I'm requesting that the council not pass the new rise in the water bills until it can be talked about in public meeting. It is too drastic to be done in this way. During the issues we are having now, I feel that you are doing this at a very poor time. When the council took the money from the electric account, you told the public that if you did not, the water bills would be raised. I explained at that time that I felt that you would be raising our bills anyway, and now you are planning to do just that. I feel that if the town is in such poor financial shape, that you need to sell all the properties that you have purchased since you have been in office. The public needs to be able to discuss this in person. If you have any questions, please call me. Our next comment comes from Dorothy Carroll. The proposed increase to the town's water rate may well be related, at least in part, to the seeming mismanagement of the recent roads project. Knowledgeable citizens attending past town council meetings expressed concern over the apparent lack of knowledge, due diligence, and regard for public opinion that plagued the project and resulted in a cost much higher than anticipated. While an increase in water rates might help to defray the town's resultant budget deficit, 2 wrongs do not make a right. The public, currently suffering the losses associated with the pandemic, should not be asked to pay an unreasonable rate increase without regard to past projections, appropriate due process. Smaller increases over the extended period of time should be considered. By doing so, the town council has a golden opportunity to demonstrate the wisdom and fiscal responsibility that may go a long way to reestablishing confidence in an entity which, in the final analysis, must surely want to do their best for the town. Our next comment comes from Dr. Matthew Weeman, Price Street. The recent proposal to increase water and sewer rates by an immediate 40% with an additional phase is unacceptable. Present water sewer rates are in line with national averages, and the proposed increase represented almost 30% deviation from the mean. The Town Council has yet to answer for the irresponsible and reckless actions that leadership took when signing a time and materials contract with Redilac. I was assured Council wants to be regarded as a responsible party for the mistake and oversights that were made. Clearly, it's difficult to do that, and it's irresponsible for the same individuals who create this mess to continue to make financially costly decisions stemming from it before the town has had a chance to hold each accountable with an election. It is my opinion that the present council does not possess the level of financial competency necessary to make these decisions. I find all to be very nice individuals. I'm happy to have them as neighbors. I simply question their ability to show sound leadership. I feel the same way about the town manager. Oversights happen, but what occurred with the budget fiasco wasn't an oversight. It was a result of both inaction and reckless decision-making. It is my understanding from attendance at council meetings that the badly needed infrastructure repairs have been dire for more than a decade. There was enough time available for the council to make proposed solution plans. There was time to get bids on the infrastructure repair without signing an open check that cost the town every dime it had. Just the fact this project somehow managed to clear the accounts smack of suspicious behavior. Furthermore, the town was presented with an opinion of clearing its liquid assets to cover the cost oversight in lieu of taxes. I voted against that option because I was confident that the money and the associated interest from it, which has benefited the town, would be lost and taxes would be raised. It seems I was correct. I find it inappropriate for the town to consider such costly proposals when the services it provides are quite frankly subpar to begin with. I'm embarrassed with a town that has been featured multiple times statewide and nationwide for its questionable water quality and the water management practices. Can the town be assured that the paying a 30% above average rate for our water and sewer service will receive at least a standard level of service that spares us from future embarrassment? I doubt it. Could we at least be told exactly why the increases are so high? Perhaps the town council could offer us some assurances that will refrain from signing time and material contracts in the future. Perhaps the council could move further to hold Redilac responsible for the costly oversight by vowing to expire all current projects and give precedence to bids from other contractors for all future projects. I appreciate the council, our town manager, and all those who are working to better the town. I don't particularly envy any of the positions. I don't wish to disparage any of them on a personal level. I simply want it made clear I resent the fiscal mismanagement that has proven to be incredibly costly to me and my neighbors. I want it to be made certain, with great accountability with citizens and oversight is here. I want the council to tell the listeners what they can do as citizens to get the necessary information they need regarding the financial assets of the town, budgetary items, etc., to help ensure that they can provide this necessary oversight. Our next comment comes from Daryl Barricolo, Edenderry Avenue. I'm appalled that this council is considering yet another substantial increase in the water sewer rates. Refreshing everyone's memory, in November of 2013, the town hired an outside firm to conduct a study of water sewer rates. This study showed the need for substantial rate increase in the water and sewer rates. Rates were increased 25% for fiscal year 2016, followed by a 15% increase for fiscal year 2017, followed each year thereafter by a standard 4% increase. 5 years after those unconscionable decisions, this council is considering another increase of 40%. This would yield a total increase of 125% in a mere 60 months. Adding further dismay to council's proposed increase, a vote was held asking the town residents whether they desired increased fees or expenditure of the town's reserve funds. The votes came in against the increases and for the spending of the reserve funds. The council must explore other options. Why aren't avenues such as the sale or something as creative as a 99-year lease of the wharf property being explored as options? This would bolster the town's budget and the continual revenue stream for the property taxes and personal taxes to support the town's budget. I challenge this council to think beyond the tax and spend attitude and make wise decisions for the good of the whole versus the good of a few. The rate increases proposed will hurt everyone from a personal and business standpoint, both short-term and long-term. You all were voted on the council to do your best. I challenge each of you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I doing what's best for the people of Centreville? And this one wasn't marked, but I believe it's sewer also, from Dan Worth, 207 South Commerce Street. I oppose the 40% water and sewer user fees increase proposed in Section 1 of Ordinance 06-2020. The water rates were raised 25%, followed by a 15% increase just 5 years ago. These increases were based on an extensive study conducted in 2014 that projected capital spending out of FY 2024. An automatic 4% increase was also built in at that time. The capital spending plan apparently fell apart within a few years because of cost overruns on the Liberty Commerce project. Use of the investment fund principle did not cover the shortfall. It would be good to know if the proposed 40% increase in water and sewer rates will be sufficient for all of our capital needs, or will the town be coming back to us again in 5 more years with another significant increase? It appears that the currently scheduled 4% increase will be sufficient to meet the operating budget needs. Before I can support a 40% increase, I would like to see a revised capital spending plan so I know when and where the money will be spent. Best I can tell, there is no requirement that the rates can only be changed at the beginning of a fiscal year, but occur anytime the town council so chooses. I still think that waiting a few months for your staff to revise the capital spending plan would be time well spent. That concludes our emails. I'm looking at our Zoom. I don't see anyone marked for comment on 06-2020. I would remind people, if you do end up having comment, please send a message through chat to the screening room host, and he will be able to set you aside for public comment later during general comments.
Okay. Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 06-2020. And once again, you're reminded that this is open for public comment until June 11th.
And I would like to add, we're going to put the presentation online tomorrow that I presented. So if people have questions, they can take a look at it. I went through it pretty fast. And again, feel free to give me a call if you have any questions about the specifics.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this hearing?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this hearing.
Once again, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let me go over to Josh real quick. We're going to mute the room.
Aye.
Back over to you now, Mike. Our room.
Okay, I now declare this hearing adjourned. Okay. So next up, we have citizens forum, and citizens are reminded to keep their comments to 3 minutes, and I don't believe we have to read the statement again. Everybody just please realize that there might be a lot of people that want to speak, and we want to give everybody an opportunity, so.
Okay, I know we have a one public comment right now on Zoom, so we'll go over to them first. I'm going to mute our room.
Got it. I was working on it, but I couldn't get it. All right. So I'm Joseph Sahaki. I live at 120 West Water Street, and I've been a resident of Centreville for almost 2 years now. I would like to again thank the council for having this Zoom meeting this evening, and I would again just really encourage you all to think about some of the comments made this evening so far. And one of the things I would like to point out about the presentation that was given by Tim McCluskey. I appreciate your time that you put into putting that presentation together, and I would encourage everybody out there that is watching to reference the April 23rd budget work session, where some of the information about this proposed increase was discussed, because I would encourage you to look into that, because it does contradict some of the information that Mr. McCluskey presented this evening. I would also like to comment on the statement that the town council members have taken this into very tough consideration on the 4% increase, when one of the town council members was quoted during the budget work session on April 23rd that we should, quote, rip the Band-Aid off, and if that's a pain that our residents have to suffer, then so be it. And I think that is a very inaccurate statement, and something that a council member should never say, that it's okay to raise rates and it's okay for our town to suffer at our residents' expense. That's inappropriate, and I think that should definitely be looked into. So again, if you're watching, I would encourage you to watch the 23rd budget work session, where a lot of revealing information is explained there on the 40% increase, so you can all be versed on that. I'd also like to comment, I think one of the people mentioned it in an email about the selling of some properties that the town owns to potentially recoup funds. And I would also reference everybody to look into the recent sale of a property out by the Department of Corrections that was sold under market value from the town to the county of Queen Anne's. And I think that's also an inappropriate sale to potentially lose money on a piece of property that you could be making money off of and not having to raise rates on individuals in Centreville. Thank you again so much for having this Zoom meeting. I'm glad that you were able to find it amongst your other money issues within the town to fund this happening. And I would encourage you to continue this for future meetings so that your constituents can have their votes and can have their opinions heard during this pandemic when traditional meetings cannot be held. And I would also encourage you to hold off on any sort of proposed increase at all during this pandemic. And I think there are other places that you can be creative, like others have mentioned, on finding money for the town. And I think that it would be a shame to have people leave and to have businesses continue to leave this town because of proposed increases to water and sewer. And you may not. Thanks, I appreciate it.
All right, we're back live. Just one more final reminder, as I read some emails, if you're on our Zoom and you would like to make public comment, please send a message to our screening room host, and he will make sure that you're heard tonight. But for now, I'm going to go to our emails. Mike Norris, please find other ways to pay for the financial mistakes that you have made. Our next comment comes from Virginia Guy. Don't do this. The citizenry of Centreville should not be covering for the council's foolish lack of proper bidding practices for street improvements. It is wrong, this continues, it is from the same person. It is wrong for the citizenry of Centreville to pay for the poor planning done in the lead up to Centreville's sewer project. As I can tell, no best practices were followed in the bidding process. In fact, there was no bidding process. Take the hit yourselves. Actually, that concludes the general public comments from the emails. At this time, I don't see anyone else that has made a comment on our Zoom. Although we did have a lot of people join our Zoom meeting tonight. We have a lot of people in there.
Okay, before we go any further, I just want to remind people we're thanking Optical Galleria for providing the funding for the QAC TV portion of this. The council approved the extra amount for the Zoom part of it to allow for public comment, live public comment, I guess I should say. And so I just want to make that known. So next up, we got old business. We got ordinance 05-2020, FY 2021 budget, second reading.
You want me to read the top? Sure. I'll be happy to do it. Town Council of Centreville, ordinance number 05-2020, an ordinance for the purpose of adopting a budget for the Town Council of Centreville for fiscal year 2021. So this is our second reading, and then we'll have consideration, I believe, at our next meeting. Is that correct? I'd like to submit the rest of it for the record.
Okay, and next up is ordinance 06-2020, the utility rate increase, second reading.
I'm happy to read the top of that as well. Town Council of Centreville, ordinance number 06-2020, an ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville establishing the Town of Centreville water and sewer user fees and service fees for both metered and unmetered customers, and submit the rest for the record.
All right, I'm just gonna make a couple comments here. I mean, we're getting flooded with emails and comments, and a lot of people are having some heartburn with the amount of the raise, and I understand that. I proposed before doing a 25 and a possible additional 25 the following year. I think in the light of the issues we're dealing with the pandemic and such, I think we need to look at, we still have to raise it, unfortunately, but I don't think we need to raise it to 40% at this time. So I'd appreciate if one of the other council members or both of them would be, join me in this, but I mean, that's up to you guys, so.
I mean, we're in a dire situation here. 40% is just covering our operating. And as you saw, the gap that we have every year, the funding gap, it continues to get worse and worse and worse. You saw that shed. I mean, these are planned things that need to get done. I personally don't see any way around it. I mean, I I can't see it.
Okay, can we go to Josh? to
Yes,
see if he
we'll
has
go
a
over to
comment?
Josh. All right, I'm going to mute our room.
So like Dr. Weeman said earlier, he doesn't envy any of these positions because there are a lot of tough decisions to make. And somebody else said, do you guys think you're doing the best job you can do? Nobody's got all the answers, but I'd like to think that we, behind closed doors, and there's other stuff that you guys don't see in private session. There's a lot of conversation that goes on along about this kind of stuff, and we pay the rates too. So that being said, we're supposed to be here for the people, and if the people want to pay less now, okay, we can talk about paying less now, but understand that the problem is not going to go away, and it's still going to have to be funded, and rates are still going to have to go up, and they're going to have to keep going up until we break even. This is not something that the town makes money on. This is something that is supposed to pay for itself to break even, not to pad our pockets at the town. So just understand how the system works. Two, I'm all for, I don't think the town should be a landlord in any way, shape, or form. I think we absolutely could sell property that we're a land. I agree with you on that. But that being said, too, that's a one-time cost. So if you take a chunk out of it this year, you still have the same amount of money or more to deal with the next year. So you can take chunks out of it, but long-term strategy has to be the goal here. It can't just be, let's sell a piece of property, hopefully we make some money on it, throw it at the enterprise fund, we just fix the problems. I agree with the premise, but you have to understand the end game as well. So, Jeff, if you want to propose something else and do 25-25, we're voted in by the people to do what the people want to do. If the people want to pay less and they feel like it's something that they want to do, then that's fine. But you have to understand that that's not going to fix the problem. And it's just going to get worse. And we're going to have to keep increasing to be able to break even. Like I said before, this is not something that we do to pad our pockets with. It's something that we do to cover the cost. And right now we're starting 600 grand in the hole. That's not covering cost. So understand the real issue. It's not the expenditures for liberty and commerce. It's not trying to make up for that. It's trying to cover our operating costs, plain and simple. I was the one who said, rip the Band-Aid off, but it was in the context of the three of us are here in a tough situation that need to make a decision, and we're about to be at 5 to where we're going to need a super majority of 4 out of 5 to make a tough decision like that. It's going to get harder and harder and harder and harder. So it was not a malicious comment to say, well, screw the people of Centreville, let's just do it, and who cares what they think? It's absolutely not that. It's the fact that tough decisions have to be made. And if that's the euphemism that I chose to use, and that's what I chose to use, and I still stand by the fact that this is a tough decision and we're going to have to make it. Because the problem is not going to go away, it's only going to get worse. So please understand the end game is to catch up to even. But I'm not opposed to talking about doing a 25-25. I'm not opposed to talking about anything. We're here for the people. The people are feeling a different way. We have to listen to them, and it's our job to act on that. That's why they get public comment. So, let's keep discussing it.
Now, Mike. And we're live.
So I guess, we have one opposed, we have one that is not sure, and we have one that wants to go another way, so.
So the 40% is just treading water, and that's allowing us to tread water to next year as well. If we did 25% this year and 25% next year, we're falling behind this year, and then we're going to fall behind next year as well. The comment that I had heard that I just wanted to expand upon is that this is a tough decision, right? And so the comment was, do something that's for the good of everybody in Centreville, not just for a select few. You know what's for a select few is if we didn't do this, because it makes it that much easier for us to keep our jobs. Time and time again, we hear these things. I will never vote for you if you raise taxes, if you raise rates, etc. So it's way easy to just say, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it go, give it to somebody else. And that's what had been done in Centreville for dozens and dozens and dozens of years. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. The toughest thing is to say, for the good of Centreville, for the good of everybody who lives here today, and 20 years from now, we need to bite the bullet and make these changes. And we need to pay this amount because this is what's going to keep us afloat. So the tough decision is one that when we get elected, we try to do what's right for Centreville. This, I believe, is what's right for Centreville. I'm the only one here that's done it, that did this before. And believe me, it was tough. We had 70% they were telling us we needed to raise it. And we said, we can't do that. We need to do it at 25. Let's see what happens in a few years. Look what happened in a few years. We're still in a worse position. In addition, over those past several years, when we made those changes in 2014, we had one of the best economies we've ever had. We came out of a recession. We're doing very well. And we still got the comments, don't ever raise my rates. Don't raise the 4%. Don't do that. It's not the right time. It's never going to be the right time. I'm telling you, folks, we are in a bad situation here where this needs to happen. So I think we need to do the 40% and go with it.
I understand where you're coming from. We're in an extraordinary time right now. And I understand before, you guys discussed it as a council and you decided that you weren't going to raise the rates to the amount that you needed to. We are in a very extraordinary time right now. We don't know what the revenues are going to be. We don't know what the expenditure or everything else is going to be. I think it's a bad time to do a 40% increase. That's my opinion. I will be more than glad to be the lone dissenter. That's not a problem. And I'm not here pandering for votes or anything like that. If something happens where, they decide they don't want me here anymore, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not a career politician, and I've told people before, I'm not a politician. I'm here because I'm trying to do what's in the best interest of the town that I live in. So that's where I go with it. So I guess we'll hear from Josh, see what he has to say.
Okay. Mute our room.
Again, I understand that now more than ever is the time to bite the bullet, but it's also not. I mean, coronavirus is, I mean, how do you plan for that? You don't. You can't. The more public outcry you hear, the more you want to listen. I mean, I don't know that you can just say, okay, well, somebody was angry and, we got to do this. I mean, if I did that in my business, I wouldn't have my business. I'd have somebody else's business. If I did something everybody else told me to do every time they thought something they could do better, it would be their business, not mine. But that being said, times are tough. And I don't know that it's fair to saddle people with more right now. And so I'm going to go with Jeff on the 25, and we have to increase it. And just I'm telling the public again, we're still going to be chasing our tail. So don't expect not to have this conversation again for the next 2 or 3 years with the same type of numbers, and don't expect it to not be an issue moving forward. But like I said, these are extraordinary times. This is something that you can't plan for. So we have to lighten the load as much as possible while still doing what we need to be doing as far as fiscal responsibility and trying to make up the gap. So I'm going to go with Jeff.
Mute our Zoom and come back over to you, Mike. And we're live.
So I guess I need to make a motion for that then, that I make a motion that we reduce the water and sewer rate increase from the 40% to the 25% this fiscal year and 25% the next fiscal year. So
Does it continue on the 4% every year after?
yes, I'm not touching the 4%. There needs to be some kind of increase. The problem was for the longest time there was no increase at all in the water and sewer, and costs rise on everything every year. So you've got to have some kind of additional mechanism. And I agree with you. I don't believe it's you know, the council needs to sit here every year and decide, well, we need to do a 2% or a 4% or a 6%. I almost think maybe we should probably look at maybe even doing like maybe adding an additional percent to it and make it a 5% increase yearly, maybe, is something that and we can talk about that at a later time, maybe next. But right now, I think, you know, in the best interest of the public and with the things that are going on right now, I think it's better to do the 25 and 25, but continue the 4% increase after that. Leave that in place.
All right.
So I'm looking for a second.
Can I ask a question before you second? I just want to make sure, are you, because right now, the way that it's written, the ordinance is written, it's FY '21. Do you want this written like we did the one in 2014 where we listed out the years? So FY '21 is going to be the 25, 22, and then in section 2, put in 2023, there will be a 5%? You want that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess the public needs to understand that the council can, at next year, decide to modify that or, you know, update that if they choose. They can increase
The
that or.
25%.
Right. So, yeah, my motion is to do the FY 2021 at 25%, the FY 2022 at 25%, and then go to a 5% yearly increase. So that's my
I
motion.
believe I'll have to go over to Josh.
Yep.
Okay. I'm muting our room, and I'm coming back over to Josh.
I second.
Second, sorry. I'm going to come right back over to our room.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're live.
All right, all opposed?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. So I guess that'll be prepared for the next.
I'll work on it and get it.
Could I ask that when you do that, you show what the gap is going to be, what the projected funding gap is going to be this year and next year? And what the deficit's going to be in terms of the revenues, the revenue hit that we're going to get this year?
I'll work on that tomorrow. Steve, I'll get you a.
Okay, that's the only old business I have. We're going to new business. I see the Northbrook Water Treatment Plant, McCrone report. I believe we're just going to touch on that because we don't have a representative here, and the plan was to, I guess, hopefully when we can have a regular public meeting is have McCrone and MDE come in and do like they did before and have a work session so that people can come in and once again are able to ask questions and get their questions hopefully answered to the best of our abilities. I don't think it's fair to do this right now when we don't have people in the room. So I'm going to turn it over to Kip.
Okay. Like you said, we're presenting it today, this evening to you. Josh, I'll make sure, certain that you get a copy of it as well. The other reason we're not going to delve into it too much, let you read it, get into it, get some things, come up with your questions and everything, and come back to us, and we'll work on them that way. Tomorrow it will be on the town's website, so it will be available to the public. MDE will have a copy of it, and so on. So, like I said, any questions you have, please let me know, and if we can't answer them for you, we'll take it to the engineering firm and to MDE if you wish them to go that direction.
Perfect.
With that being said, you'll see a few things in there that were already planned for this year. And just to update you a little bit, we have the media for the Northbrook filter. Hopefully in the near future we can get that changed out, but we are still offline with the Comet Drive water treatment plant, still waiting on parts, and we can't do one job until the other one's finished. So, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up is Chesterfield Cemetery Caretaker's bid, or building bid consideration, and I don't,
I'll just mention that's actually on hold. We were hoping, we're still working things out with the insurance company because it's related to the fire damage that occurred in the caretaker building. So we were hoping that it would have been resolved by yesterday, but we're still, tweaking the final details. So we'll be back at a later date with that.
Okay, so that's tabled till you have
It's tabled, yes.
update, okay. All right, next up is the 2020 summer meeting schedule.
We've typically only met once in June. That's the meeting that we have our budget adoption. We typically have only met once in July and August. So we have a meeting scheduled for the 11th of June now, right? I think we should do a meeting on the 16th of July, which is the third Thursday, which is our regular council meeting, and then also August 20th, which would be the third Thursday. So eliminate the July 2nd, and then whatever the first meeting in August.
All right, so give me the dates again, June,
June 11th, that's already on the calendar.
okay,
That would be it for June.
all right, July.
July 16th, and then August 20th. And then in those, if we have a work session, right, if we're ready to do the presentation, we could do the Macron presentation then, if the building's back open again, or if we need to schedule a third meeting, we could do it at that, be flexible.
So how long do you think it would take to put together a work session when things are opened up, roughly?
I wouldn't think it would take more than a couple of weeks to coordinate the building use and the various agencies and engineering firms' schedule.
Okay, plus we want to give the public enough time, heads up to know that there's going to be a meeting and they can attend it, so. All right, do we want to go to Josh to see if he has any comments on the schedule?
Sure.
I'm actually good. I think I said everything I wanted to say tonight. So I appreciate everybody that came in on Zoom. Joe, thanks for being in the video tonight. With all this stuff going on, it's obviously the best way we can communicate. So I'm glad people are participating, and I look forward to doing it again.
He can't hear you.
I know, but let's just make sure that he knows that's what.
No.
Comments for the schedule that we were proposing.
No, I'm good.
Mute our room and come back over to you, Mike.
We don't need a motion on that, Steve, do we? We can just make the modifications? Okay,
And we'll publish that?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I have something for new business. It's not a pleasant subject to discuss, but I want everybody to be aware of this as a possibility, based on, I know the county's looking at, possible reductions in revenues and stuff like that due to this COVID and the businesses not being, open and issues and, people not having money. So I think the council needs to keep a close eye on the budget. And I'm just trying to let people know up front, there's a possibility that if the revenues aren't there, this council might be looking at some type of pay reduction for the current employees. So, it's not a comfortable thing to discuss. Believe me, I've been on the other side. I would like to make one comment that if that was to happen, when the revenues do come back up to where they were, I would think that this council would put the employees back where they were prior to, if we have to do that. I'm just saying it's a possibility based on the revenues and the revenue stream. So I think I would like to see the council kind of meet quarterly for that and get an update on the revenues as they're coming in quarterly, starting the next budget cycle. So we can kind of keep an eye on it and maybe even have the finance officer look at things monthly and see if there's any issues she sees, red flags or something, they come to the council with. So I know it's not a comfortable subject, but I just want to broach that so everybody is aware that that's a possibility. So, anything to say on that? Or?
No, I mean, one of the things we're talking about in this budget is we cut a whole bunch of stuff and we said, let's push it out to see how things are this summer, fall, spring, whatever that is. I think that goes both ways. So it's do we have revenues? Are things getting better and we can afford to do those things that we wanted to do? And if things get worse, yeah, we'll certainly look at all that stuff.
Okay, can we go to Josh and see if he has any comments on that topic?
He's shaking his head no. Would you like me still to go over?
No, he said no?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right, next up, unless you have anything else for
Yeah.
new business? Josh, have anything for new business? Okay. We're at correspondence. I think we have one thing, I guess you want to read?
Yeah, I'll be happy to read this. This is an email that had come in, I guess, right after our last meeting. This is coming from Norman and Joan Pinder. I just came back from the cemetery visiting Mom and Daddy's gravesite and felt I had to let you know how lovely the cemetery looked. The grass and trimming looked so good. There were a lot of visitors visiting loved ones and placing flowers. Norm and I always have a soft spot for the Chesterfield Cemetery, as well as the Greenmount Cemetery in Queen Anne, where Norm's parents are laid to rest. Please pass our appreciation on to the crew that maintains the cemetery and thank them for us. Many people thank them for the hard work. Job well done. Thank you, Joan Pinder. So I think that's a nice one to read because we've heard it on the other side as well. So great job, Kip, keeping a good, looking good.
Pass it on to the crew.
Say that again?
I will pass it on to the crew.
Thank you. All right, next up is report of department heads. I guess we'll go to the town manager.
Over the course of the next month, we plan to finish the work that was planned on Pennsylvania Avenue. We had some line striping to do there. Happy Lady Lane, we got some final paving needs to be done. Church Lane, we also have some paving work, repairs and paving work there as well. David A. Bramble Construction Company continues to do the concrete work on the state highway project with Liberty Commerce, and they plan to do the milling and asphalt overlay in June, and just continue working on the normal zoning matters that come up each week. That's it.
Okay, next up, police chief.
I don't really have anything. I apologize, I missed the meeting last week. I think you received my April statistical report, if there was any questions about anything like that. We're just status quo.
All right, thank you. Kip, Public Works.
Nothing at this time.
Yes, Karen left for the evening. Okay. Carolyn, town
I
clerk.
actually have a couple things. One, I wanted to just share some information on the facade grant, which back in November we talked about. We had just been awarded another $55,000 grant for facade improvements. And if everyone has noticed, Coliseum is our latest project, which I think looks fantastic. So I just wanted to highlight real quick, we have in 2013, 2017, 2019, and 2020 received grants for facade improvements for a total of $185,000, and we have been able to, one is currently being worked on, but a total of 16 properties in town that we've done facade improvements for, so, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's great. It's a fantastic program, and I have to say, I mean, that building looks great, and a lot of those buildings we've had that have put in some money, so it's really great.
And then I wanted to just give a quick update on the Centreville Farmers Market. Most people know that it went virtual this year so far. So just an update real quick that Carol sent. They completed their first curbside pickup delivery day yesterday. The online portal opened with 100 items from 5 farmers and producers. During the first week, the market filled 34 orders totaling $952, which included 4 home delivery customers. Orders ranged from $10 to $57. A 6th producer, Coops and Crops from Kennedyville, will be joining the farmers market this coming week. Curbside operation is managed by 2 shifts of volunteers, a majority of which have never been involved with town programs. As of today, there are 183 customers who've signed on to receive the weekly catalog, and they're currently taking orders for week 2. So.
That's it. I guess we need to go back a minute because I don't remember, so pardon me if I forgot, but we haven't done anything funding wise for the next meeting, have we?
No.
So I guess we need to make, I need to make a motion that we fund the next meeting, and I don't know whether, do we need to make that a Zoom meeting also, or do we just need to do a,
Let's do it a Zoom meeting. It's our, we're making some decisions. Let's do it. Let's. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll second that. If you're saying do it Zoom, then I'll second that.
yeah, we'll do the QATV and the Zoom so people can call in or, okay, so I'll make a motion that we fund the next meeting, because I think that's our last fiscal year for this budget cycle, so. You second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in
I'll go.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll go over.
Aye.
We are live.
Okay, and I apologize, we went out of order, but the motion passes. So next up, we have another round of citizens forum. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes, so if there's anybody out there that wants to make any comments, feel free.
All right, we do have a Zoom comment, so I'm going to mute our room.
Former live here in Centreville. First of all, I want to say thank you for everything that you guys have done and continue to do. This is a wonderful, wonderful little town. It's got a lot of great things to offer, and you guys do an outstanding job. I just had a couple of quick questions. Tim was mentioning some of the capital expenditures, for instance, the truck and the shed. I think what people get upset about is they really don't understand the process. So my question is the town able to come up with a 5-year projection with everything put into it and kind of create an aggregate over the next 4 or 5, 6 or 7 years, so people aren't hit with a 30, 40 or 50% increase all on one particular item, such as the sewer or the water? Could we simply just look at this and say, look, in order to get a grand slam, we're going to have to raise this amount over this period of time, but we could actually show the projections of what it's going to take. And then we can, as we're doing this, hopefully the revenues will come in and the deficit will actually shrink. But at least we'll have some sort of ideas instead of just keep pushing it back from year to year to year. I don't know how that works on the technicality side, if you can actually do 2 years, 3 years in advance and show everybody, or if you have to do year to year. But I do feel for you guys, and I do understand the complexity of what it is. And I appreciate the time and energy that you guys have put into this. And it's certainly a difficult time for everybody. But in doing contracts, especially with my company, it's great to have a long-term forecast to show people that this just isn't dropped out of the sky. These are things that are going to take time, energy, and a lot of money and capital. But it would be great to see a 3, 5, or 6 year plan in advance, so we could actually see, look, the reality is we all have to have water and we all have to have great sewer and roads, and it's going to take this much to get there regardless of how we tax people or do whatever. But I think that'd be a great plan, and if it could be laid out and showed to everybody, I think that'd be a great thing. So, and with that being said, I hope you and your family and your staff and your colleagues are all safe during this pandemic, and you guys are doing a great job. And you're in a no-win situation, but that's why you guys get the big bucks. So thanks for everything that you guys do. I appreciate it. Mike Saformo.
Are we back
One
yet?
second, Tim, sorry. Go ahead.
I would like to just make a comment on what Mike had just said. We do get that, and we have it here as our proposed capital budget requests, and we've been getting it every single year. Right now, I'm looking at one that goes out to FY 2025, and it even goes out even further than that. What happens is that every single year, and Kip, you can tell me if I'm not saying this correctly, every single year we have these, right? And it comes to the council, and that when we sit down in our budget session, we go through and we say, okay, we're going to zero everything out. We're not going to make any increases. Then we're going to see what's left over. If there's anything left over, then we're going to go to what the capital projects are. And so most times we don't ever get any of those things. You know, we're talking about this shed that's been delayed since FY 2017, I think it was, the truck that's been delayed since FY 2016. That's a perfect example, right? That's a perfect example that back probably in FY 13, we had that probably budgeted in there. And 16 came along and we said, no, we can't do it now. 17 came along and we said, no, we can't do it now. 18 came along, can't do it now. 19 came along, can't do it now. 20 came along, we can't do it now. So we have all these things. We have all of these tools. All of our department heads put all these tools together for both the general fund as well as for the enterprise fund. And we don't have the money to do it. And we're not willing to come up with the revenues to actually make these things happen. As you see that, you know, even the 40% isn't going to cover replacing a lot of these things. So it's going to be tougher and tougher, but we definitely have it. And it's tough during these budget sessions when we go back and we say, we can't do anything, we can't do anything, we can't do anything. So that's the answer to that. I don't know if you had anything else, Kip, or no?
No, you're absolutely right. When I came here 7 years ago, that was one of the things the council asked for, was a 5-year budget plan, looking at the capital for both the enterprise fund and for the general fund. I worked very hard on it year after year, and sometimes it comes to no avail, especially when the rates can't even keep up with the day-to-day operations, let alone the capital improvement needed. So it's just, like you said, the 40% increase was just to get you back to break even. So by only going 25% this year and 25% next year, you're falling behind the 8 ball. Even though that's 50%, you've already lost a year of that income and it's gone. So I understand the hard times and everything, but you guys are going to have trouble keeping up with the plants and keeping the maintenance up. We're already to the point we've cut the capital out. The budget's constrained so tight now. I fear for next year as far as being able to maintain what we do have beyond bubble gum and duct tape and bale wire.
All right. Do we have anybody else that chimed in to make a citizen comment while we were discussing?
We had one person who had commented in the chat, and I asked them if they would like to make public comment, but I have not heard anything. So,
Are we able to read their chat, or is that not something?
here we go. Okay, I believe she would like to.
Okay.
Or he. I'm sorry, I actually don't know if it's a boy. So I'm going to mute our room and go over. And we're back.
Okay, so we have no more citizen forum comments, so we will go to the council roundtable, and we'll start with Josh to see if he has anything.
I think I said everything I wanted to say earlier. Just I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on where they were aiming their comments. I just want to make sure everybody has the correct information. So if that you're concerned about something or you're passionate about something, that you have all the facts and that you understand, you know, where we're going and what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing and why it's all proposed. And how important it is for you to be involved and to come to more meetings and to be at more Zooms and, all this stuff that we got going on. The more the public gets involved, the more they have a voice. So let this meeting be a lesson to people who speak up. We listen. So I guess I'm just asking people to be more involved and to understand, what the end game is. And we're all in this thing together, and we're just trying to do the best that we can. Like Mike said, we're in a no-win situation, but we got to make decisions. But yeah, I'm looking forward to everything getting reopened and trying to get back to some kind of normal. And I hope everybody out there is staying safe. I'm trying to do the same. So I guess we'll see you next meeting.
And that person said they had trouble accessing the mic and camera. If you would like me to read what they had said, okay?
That's fine.
It's from N. Hazen. How dare Josh Shantz encourage rate increases for our town when his home is for sale and he has moved to Michigan? Let's be honest for once. And that concludes Hazen. And then we also had another comment from Mike Saforo. Over the next 5 years to get what we need, is it a combined 80%, 200%? I was asking the cost over time to get us where we need to be as best as we can. Sorry, he didn't lay out his question very well. And that concludes our public comment.
Okay. I will go to Vice President for comment.
I just wanted to thank QAC TV for doing this. This is a really cool thing, and I think it's neat that in the weird times that we're in, that we've got the technology to be able to do this. When I was growing up, my dad was actually on the town council in a little town where I was growing up, and there's no way they could have ever done something like this. So it's just really cool that we have the technology to do this. And I wanted to thank Bruce for reading all the comments tonight. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Put
Anytime.
good inflection in there. You know what you anticipate when an exclamation point is coming up. So
Yeah,
great
right.
work.
I felt my theater presence really
Yes.
finally got to pay off for the county.
That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, and I want to second that. I appreciate everything QATV is doing, and Bruce for reading everything. And I saw one where the county was doing the question and answer, where they were actually doing like a Facebook thing where people could type into.
Yes,
Is that something that we could probably do next meeting too, if people wanted to type in some comments? I saw
I'm sure we could figure something out, yeah. Yeah, we did that through Facebook Live, and people were allowed to send their questions in that way.
Is that something that we have to add extra money to do, or?
No, I'm sure we could do that along with the Zoom.
Okay. All right, I'd like to.
We're talented enough, I
Come
think.
do that, and I appreciate QATV for everything you do. The stuff you guys have been putting out during this pandemic and all.
Yeah, thank you.
Is appreciated, because I know the public likes it, and they like to know what's going on, so.
We also had Chris in the hallway. I don't want to let people, he was doing a lot of work in there vetting our Zoom room to make sure it was safe and secure.
The man behind the camera.
Yeah, the man behind the camera out there. So he's doing a lot of work out there.
Okay, we thank him too, so. And I want to thank everybody that actually Zoomed in and made their comments, and I appreciate them, making comments, because we, like to take what you guys have to say and take it to heart, because, like Tim said, we live here too, so everything that we do here affects us just as well as you, and we're just all trying to get through this together, so. I don't think I have anything else to say, so I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I will second it, and I guess we need to hear Josh.
Sure. All right, I'm going to mute, and we're going to go back.
I couldn't hear if you seconded it, but I'll second it and give the aye.
And come back over to our room whenever you're ready, Mike, and we're back.
Okay, and the meeting's adjourned.